Welcome to the Songwriter Connection podcast, where we look at the craft of songwriting through the eyes of the songwriter. Each week, we make a connection with a music maker, listen to their songs, and hear their stories. From Nashville, Tennessee, here's your host, Dave Lenahan.
Actually, blessed to have two hosts today. This is a special show. This is our 70th now in the series called Songwriter Connection Podcast. I know we started in season 1 and we had season 2, but we decided to just keep it going in season 3. And if you count them all up, 2 and 3, to where we are today, this would be the 70th overall episode. We are over 150,000 streams now all across the world, and so happy that you chose to tune in and to help make us one of the most popular growing music podcasts on the internet right now. So thank you so much. Let me tell you about what we had in mind. Chad Wilson is my guest. Chad, how you doing today?
Hello, Dave. How are you, buddy?
Oh, man, I'm doing good. It's good to have you here. You know, a few months back, we had you and Caitlin Crooker on the show, and it was a wonderful show. And we got to talk about you and your accomplishments, and Caitlin, who has now signed a record deal.
Yeah, she sure has.
I love that girl. I'm so happy for her.
That's crazy, isn't it?
It really is. In town for not even a year, and
yeah.
she so she's going to have music coming out that we'll be hearing. And it's so well deserved. And I know you've worked with her a lot. And she's so blessed to have found you when she first moved to town. But her voice is amazing. Her writing is great. She's got it all. And she's at a very young age. So she's going to learn a lot. But we wish her all the best success. And yeah, isn't it incredible? What a story.
I think the best asset she's got is the family.
Yeah. They're amazing family.
They deserve everything they get.
Carolyn and Mike, they're wonderful people. Yeah. So anyway, we were talking after that show, Chad and I, because Chad has an amazing podcast, which is called the Deconstructed Sessions. I'll get it out, Chad. I'm sorry. And it's really cool what you do with Hit Writers, too. You sit down and you deconstruct the songs, talk about kind of like what we do, but like with a TV audience sometimes, right? Well, tell me about that show.
Well, it's called Deconstructed Sessions because I like to deconstruct the songs.
Yeah.
You and I have the same philosophy. It's all about the song.
It is all about the song.
Personalities come and go, but man, a good song is a good song. And,
right.
And I've been fortunate enough, like yourself, to know a lot of hit songwriters. Mm-hmm. And so I sit them down and I have them deconstruct one of their songs. Tell us more information that we might have never known.
The nuts and bolts, right? Under the hood, right? That's cool.
Where were they at when the inspiration hit them, and maybe where were they at when they wrote it, and and who they write it with, and then a backstory if there's a backstory, and you learn so much about a song.
You do. How they develop that idea. It takes more than just an idea.
So my plan today in our crossover session, is I'm going to deconstruct the songwriter connection.
Cool. Well, very good. I'm honored. Yeah. And we're going to deconstruct you.
All right.
Sound good?
Play a little music and
Yeah, we'll play some music and we're going to have fun. Well, let's talk about you first. You're a third generation musician. You came from, gospel and harmony roots, was it? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Gospel music.
Yeah.
My grandparents were a successful gospel quartet. And that's what I was raised on. So those harmonies, those.
I love harmonies. Oh, yeah.
And then gospel music, so you develop emotions and you develop these feelings, and some people like to call it the Holy Ghost or Holy Spirit or whatever you call it. Yeah. We didn't take off running down the aisles or nothing, but if I saw my grandma shed a tear, buddy, I was going to be crying right there with her.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah. But yeah, was in church and then my mom and dad. My dad was a preacher, and of course my mom was a little piano prodigy,
Wow.
She's a miracle that she's even alive. It's a miracle that I'm here.
Really?
My mom wasn't even supposed to make it past a week old.
Really? How come?
And she had a defect on her heart.
Oh, boy.
But every time they set a deadline, she hit it. And my grandma says the power of prayer is real.
Yeah.
And they gave her a week, and she made it a week, and they said, okay, she won't make it 2 weeks, and she won't make it a month, she won't make it 3 months, she won't make it a year.
Wow.
And when she was 12 years old, she was winning all these piano deals, wasn't even supposed to be there, so
what a prodigy.
She's been given a little bit more than what she does. She's been given a pretty tough life, more than what she deserves.
And she's still with us, right?
She's still with us, but she is the reason that I am. Anything good about me is because of my mama.
Wow.
But yeah, her and Dad traveled, and of course, as their kids, we traveled too. Churches all over the place. Dad was a preacher, and he sang, and Mom played the piano, so they were a duo. Mm-hmm. So I was singing in front of church when I was probably 4 or 5 years old.
Really? When did you first pick up an instrument?
I didn't pick up, well, my mom, she was a piano player, so we always had a piano. Mm-hmm. And at least 3 or 4 nights of the week, Mom would sit down at the piano and play for an hour, sometimes maybe even 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And I would sit right there beside her and watch her play. And then when she got up, I would sit there for another hour trying to mimic what she did. And that's how we learned. We learned how to play by ear.
So you started on the piano. Mm-hmm. Yeah. When did you pick up a guitar for the first time?
I was 15 years old.
15?
Yeah.
Wow.
I picked up the drums as my second one.
Yeah. Wow.
My uncle was a drummer for the Johnson Quartet. Mm-hmm. And when I got, to be about 9 or 10, he had put his drum set in storage and wasn't playing anymore. And man, just seeing him behind that drum set to me was, from a kid's perspective.
Yeah.
Seeing my uncle behind that drum set and the Johnson Quartet playing, the drums made it.
Yeah.
that was it,
Yeah.
And so when that drum set was, and it probably stayed in storage for a couple of years, until one day I just asked my mama if she thought I could ask Uncle Larry if I could get the drum set out and maybe try to learn how to play the drums. So I got he allowed me. Mm-hmm. And the heads on these drum sets are so old.
Yeah.
But I didn't know any difference.
No.
Matter of fact, when I set them up for the first time, I had my snare because it was the biggest. Uh-huh. I had it way over here on the end.
Okay.
I didn't even know how to set a drum set up.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
But my grandpa, he ventured over there and heard me making some noise, so he come in there and got me set up right. And
I bet it wasn't too joyful of a noise.
No, it wasn't. Bless my mama's heart. But yeah, within a year, I was on the road playing with the Johnson Quartet.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, when did songwriting become a thing with you?
Well, I've always, wanted to be a writer. I knew I was a writer, I guess, from the time I was in third grade. Third grade, was living in Missouri at the time. Mm-hmm. My dad was an associate pastor at Sweet Springs Baptist Church, and it was by far the biggest church I'd ever been in.
Wow.
A huge church.
Wow.
And he was associate pastor. And we was in school at a small school called West Strand. And, it was a small town school. 12 through K through 12 all go to the same. And I entered a writing competition, a school-wide writing competition in the third grade, and I won it.
That's great. Third grade.
Yeah.
Wow. Talk about prodigy.
Yeah.
Awesome. You remember the song? I'm sure you do.
Do I now?
You remember the song?
Well, it wasn't a song that I wrote.
Oh, okay.
It was like we had to write on a certain couple of different subjects.
Oh, okay.
But it was a open write. You could write how you wanted to, but you just had to include something.
Yeah.
And but I've always been a fan of just words. Mm-hmm.
Me too.
So writing is something I always want to do, but I didn't write my first song until I was about 15. Now I probably wrote a lot of lines and stuff up until that point, but it was until I picked up a guitar. My grandpa showed me how to play the guitar, and it was after that I wrote my first song.
Wow. Now, you've had a lot of success as a songwriter. Over 40 cuts, and of course you and your brother with the Wilson duo, big on CMT, had some chart success and everything. So you came a long way from that first guitar at 15 to where you are today.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've always heard you got to write 1,000 bad songs before you write a good one.
1,000 bad songs.
I'm telling you.
Is that what it is? 1,000 now?
Well, that's what I heard Toby Keith say. I don't know.
Is that right up there with the 10-year town thing?
Yeah, maybe so.
Write 1,000 songs in 10 years, and maybe you got a chance.
But I have written some bad ones.
Well, we all have.
But the story of the first song I wrote, I do remember it, and I remember I won a competition. I got a chance to come play the Grand Ole Opry when I was 17.
You're kidding me.
And
17, you were on the Opry. Mm-hmm. Wow.
But it was until I wrote I'll Move On. And there's a big story behind it. But I wrote it in 2006. So almost 18 years ago. Mm-hmm. But it was until I wrote that song that I knew that was a good one. You know, you write songs, and I was always scared to play mine out. You know, Debbie Champion, when I first moved to town, Debbie Champion,
Love Debbie.
always wanted me to come out and play, but I didn't really have nothing good, and I was really embarrassed. But when I got that first song that I knew that I could get behind, I knew my writing had stepped up a little bit.
You knew you could hang. Yeah. That's cool. You know, you talk about Debbie Champion. We're going to get her on the phone. We have an episode coming up in a couple of weeks with Mark Allen Barnett. We're going to talk about writers' rounds here in Nashville and what it's all about. And we'll talk about setting up writers' rounds in your own hometown, and then what to do and how to perform. But Debbie Champion has been hosting writers' rounds here in Nashville for 30 some years, and so she knows. And we're going to get her on the phone and talk about it on an upcoming podcast.
There's no telling how many hits she has witnessed.
Or stars, you know, people that started out there.
Absolutely.
You know, even back in the Broken Spoke days, you know. So
she's the champion for everybody.
It's got a good name, doesn't she?
She's got a great name.
She really does. So you've got a new project out and a new single. And I really wanted to play this. You're listening to, by the way, the first ever crossover event, Songwriter Connection Deconstructed sessions. You'll be able to hear on both of our websites and in both of our shows, which are distributed everywhere. So it's kind of cool. It's our first thing. But I want to play your new single and talk about it. Tell us a little bit about it. The Devil, he's real, huh?
Yeah, the devil is real. You know, so, you know, it's not a subject I like to talk about a lot, but, you know, divorce. It was not long after my divorce, and you know, I was having a lot of success with me and my brother having a lot of success, but at the same time, it was hard to balance that out, you know, because here we are, our dreams are sort of coming true, and we're on these radio tours and stuff, but yet at the same time, my other life is falling apart, you know.
Oh man, it had to be hard.
And Isaac Moore was part of our band, and you know, he's a phenom. You know, he was at 14 and 15 years old. He was up for male vocalist of the year in bluegrass.
Wow. Crazy.
But you know, to be so young, he's seen a lot. He's lived a lot, and he's seen a couple of his friends commit suicide. And this song wasn't necessarily written about that, but with all the stuff going on, the devil was real, and he was involved in all of our lives at the time. You know, he was pulling on all of us like he does. And we wrote a song called the Devil. And it's just a sort of a mantra, you know, man, I'm tired of you, devil. Don't come around here no more, you know. But it's funny to me, the place that you're in, the state of mind you're in when you write a song. And then here we are, maybe 3 years later, I just cut it, and the song means completely something different.
Wow. Change with time?
Yeah.
Or you change with time?
Well, you know, it's, as we were shooting the video for it, as we was recording it, we got to hear people's stories of them telling us what the song meant to them. And, you know, and the timing worked out, and being that, you know, Isaac has witnessed what he has, and same with me. You know, suicide is the numbers of suicide these days is extremely high.
It is extremely high.
So what we decided to do is the video for the song is coming out September the 5th, which is kickoff Suicide Awareness Week.
Okay.
And we shot the video to bring some attention and some awareness to suicide prevention. And I'm excited about the video coming out September the 5th. But the song itself was released a few weeks ago, and you know, when you hear the devil, you automatically think, this boy's crazy. He ain't one of them Hollywood blood-sucking kind or nothing like that, you know. But once you listen to it, you'll see that it comes from a place of, you know, just being tired of the devil being involved in everything. You know?
Sounds great. And this is quite a production, and I want to play it. And by the time this airs or publishes for Songwriter Connection, it's out there. So I want you to look for it on YouTube. It's called The Devil. This is the latest from Chad Wilson. Anything else you want to say on that, about it?
Well, just a shout out to Gabe Baker on cello. The Greater Nashville Inspirational Choir was on it.
Unbelievable.
Eric Torres helped produce it. Caitlin Croker's on it.
Is she?
And Ruth Ann Conley, all singing together. So,
awesome. Well, let's listen to this. Give this a listen. It's on Spotify right now. This is the place I'm taking it from. So you'll want to have a copy of this, I'm sure.
The devil's real, and he walks around from place to place, from town to town, looking for the lonely, the broken down. The devil's real, and he walks around. The devil steals what you love the most. All that remains is just a ghost. What good's the world if you lose your soul? The devil steals what you love the most. Don't come around here no more, devil. Don't come around here no more. Don't come around here no more, devil. Don't come around here no more. The devil kills what makes you whole. You lose yourself, you lose control. Don't be deceived, it's just fool's gold. The devil kills what makes you whole. Don't come around here no more, devil. Don't come around here no more. Don't come around here no more, devil. Don't come around here no
That is such a powerful song. My goodness. Chad Wilson, brand new release just out called The Devil, co-written with your brother, Kyle, and
Isaac Moore.
Isaac Moore, who was in your band. Just a powerful idea and very well done. The production on that. Tell me about that. Where was that? Where'd you record?
Several different places. We started out recording at Fame Studios in Muscle Shoals. And we
Are you kidding? Wow.
Ended up doing some the choir aspects of it was done over at the Parlor. You might have
I know Robin. We're going to get Robin ready on this show one of these days.
We did that choir there, and then we did some of the overdubs. The Gabe Baker did the cello, my vocals, and Caitlin and Ruth Ann's vocals we done at the Couch Studios with Eric Torres.
Wow. And you know, I love a cello in music. Ever since Harry Chapin days. I mean, it's just, what song wouldn't benefit from a little cello?
I'm telling you.
And that one really does.
I tell you. And Gabe Baker, I don't know if you know him yet, but if you haven't, you got to get him on your show.
I got it, huh?
He is he will set his cello up and he will sing with just him and his cello, and it's so good. It's amazing.
Man,
but I need to introduce y'all.
Please do.
I sure will.
Put that little bug in his ear. By the way, if you want to hear more about Caitlin Crooker and Chad when they were on previously, it was season 3, 14A was the episode, and it's a great episode. So we encourage you to go back and listen to that as well. You're listening to crossover of the Deconstructed sessions and Songwriter Connection. My guest is Chad Wilson, and your guest is who?
Dave Lenahan. You know what? Let me welcome in all my audience too. So all the folks who listen to the Deconstructed sessions, and what I'd like to do, if I could, I want to just sort of, let my people know who you are,
flattered,
what you
man.
do in town. You do such a great thing. The writer shows you put together, and your voice is just custom made. So I want to start back at the beginning.
Sure.
Where are you from?
I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, born in Buffalo, and I always tell people, Cleveland is the rock and roll capital of the world. The Hall of Fame is there, right? So how did I get into country music? It was just crazy. It was a roundabout way.
Okay.
I started working in radio in college because, first of all, I didn't make the hockey team, and I was all bumming and depressed. And I ran into this DJ who was DJing this party, and talked to him a little bit. And he said, "Why don't you come? I've got a radio show. Why don't you come and visit?" And I went, "Really?" And I did, and I'm like, "Oh wow, this is cool, man!" Next thing I know, I'm doing radio, and just hooked. And by 1980, and I know I'm dating myself, you know, when you're doing radio, you're not always, you can't always do the format you predict. I mean, I grew up loving rock and roll, but really my first paid gig was jazz. I was an afternoon jazz announcer. And then I was doing adult contemporary near Youngstown, Ohio.
Well, did you have a background in jazz?
No, in fact, when they approached me, they said, "We think you could do our jazz show." I go, "I don't know anything about jazz." He goes, "Oh man, we're going to teach you. You're going to learn, and you're going to love it." And they were right. You can pick it up, and by reading the jacket covers and stuff. Remember we had albums back then, so and get to know who was playing and what combos and stuff. And I just learned to love jazz. And I still love jazz today. Then I did a little what they call adult contemporary. I did some rock and roll. I did a progressive format, and then eventually a friend of mine's father owned a little country station in Cleveland, and they were the first Northeast Ohio station to go country. And it's really an interesting story because this was early 70s, not when I joined them, but when he started the station, like 1971, there was a lot of people moving up from down south to work in the factories up north.
Okay.
Bobby Bear had that song that Mel Tillis wrote, 500 Miles, about Detroit City,
Okay.
Missing home, because they would go up and work in the factories. And so Harry Wilbur, who was the owner of that station, had this great idea. Let's do country music. I'll bet we can make a go. Wow. A lot of people thought he was crazy, but he made it work.
Wow.
And about 1980, he hired me to do middays, and I stayed there for 8 years. Eventually did mornings, did about every shift. I ended up being program director, and I was hooked. I moved to Cincinnati, where I ran a broadcast school and worked for B105 in Cincinnati, which is still the biggest country music station in Cincinnati, and just really at the right place at the right time, because then country music blew up. We're talking the 90s, the Garth eras, and the 90s are just so big again, right, Chad? I mean.
Well, to me, they never went out of style.
Never went out of style. Yeah.
I love that. 90s was my favorite. My favorite. I still tend to write that way.
Yeah.
I guess that's a good thing and bad thing about cycles. You're out of the cycle for so long, but it's going to come back around, I guess.
It is. It always does, you know. And they always talk about how, it's becoming too pop. They've been saying that forever, 50s, 40s. It's getting too pop. But I think that's what people do is if they're not into that certain kind, they always go back to when they loved it the most. And so a lot of people are doing that going back to the 90s. For me, I started to discover roots music, more bluegrass, more blues. We've got a great station here in town, WMOT, which is called Roots Radio. And it's an Americana blend. And Americana is kind of where I'm at these days. I'm really loving that.
Well, I need an education. Mm-hmm. My first thought, though, was who was it that back in the 70s and 80s used to go around? Was it Mandrell? Which one that took their own record to the radio stations?
Oh, Loretta Lynn did.
Loretta Lynn, yeah.
Yeah.
That's Boy, if we could still do that today, that'd be something. Huh?
When I was working in Cincinnati radio, it wasn't unusual for the artists to come by all the time because, right up Nashville, right up 71. So if they're going to wherever they're going on their tour, they're going right up 71. So a lot of them would stop by. And I remember Blake Shelton would hang around the station. And when he come into town, Trick Pony, I got to know a lot of the artists just doing that. And I mean, they worked it. I mean, they do. Yeah.
I've always thought that if I wasn't doing the side of music that I do, that I am doing, that I would hopefully be in radio. I love radio.
Oh, yeah.
I got my first radio job. I'll make this quick because I want
you did radio, okay?
I did, but I got fired my very first shift.
Yeah, they say you're not in radio unless you get fired at least once.
Well, I did it wrong. The big radio station where I'm from was out of Montgomery,
Alabama.
WLWI, big radio station. It covered the whole state. But, But I got a little internship or whatever you call it at the local radio station that probably covered just our little city, And the day finally came where I was going to talk on radio live for the first time. So I had everybody, my mom, dad, listening at home or wherever they were, everybody listening.
Yeah.
And I was going to give the weather.
You're going to give the weather? Yeah.
Well, I did my 2 little lines of the weather, and I was supposed to see, WTLM, I think was the call letters.
Uh-huh.
But just because I had ingrained WLWI in my head my whole life, I'm like, that's your weather here on WLWI.
Oh, no, wrong call letters.
Yep, the phone rang immediately.
Because that's a competitor at that point.
Yeah, they were done with me.
I've done that a few times. I must admit, I've done that a couple of times.
Yeah,
and got away with it.
It's a good story, huh?
Yeah, it's a great story.
Well, now, was you playing music through all this? When did you pick up a guitar?
11 years old.
Okay, so you did play.
Yeah.
Okay. So you was a writer too. Then when did you write your first song?
Oh gosh, I was really young. Even before I played guitar.
Oh wow.
When I grew up with the Beatles and the Monkees, right?
Okay.
So there was a bunch of guys in the neighborhood. None of us could play guitar, but we would take badminton rackets and a golf tee, and we'd strum on them and sing all the Monkees and Beatles
songs.
And we called ourselves the Rackets, right? So we needed to have songs, right?
The Rackets. That's perfect.
The Rackets.
Perfect.
So I started writing songs. I don't remember any of them. They were probably just terrible. But so that was, for me, it was always... like when we got our first guitars, and I'll never forget this. My mother and father bought my brother and I. It was just my brother and I. He was almost 3 years younger than me, and they bought us our first guitars. And my brother, he had this gift of perfect pitch. He could hear it and play it. You could go to a piano and just hit a note, and he'll tell you what that note was. I mean, that's how he was.
That's crazy.
He'd be able to tune my guitars. Tune my guitar, Russ. Okay,
I'm envious of those people.
I know, it's really a gift. So he picked it up right away, and before we knew it, he's playing stuff like "Gentle on My Mind" and showing me how to play it. And then whenever I hear a song on the radio I go, Russ, how do you play this? Oh, it's like this, And he just really had a knack for that. But see, I think, and I could be wrong, but my philosophy is I think there's kind of 2 kinds of musicians. One, like that, who can hear it and play it by ear, right? And then there's me who can't. But one of the things is I wasn't so much into figuring out how to play it, a song to cover. I was more like, I want new sounds out of this thing. I want to find new... and I'd come up with a progression. Okay. And I go, what do you think of this, Russ? Oh, you didn't write that. I go, oh, yeah, I'm just, And so we would kind of work together, you know. It was interesting. So I've always had it's always been my interest, Well,
why don't we hear one of yours? And
okay.
Then when we come back, I want you to give us a little lesson on the different types of music that.
Okay.
And what separates Americana from roots and from folk,
Yeah, there should be books written about that.
But what do you got for us?
This is more in that Americana genre, if you will. And this is a song called Squirrel Train. And this is going to be on my new project, which is, I'm hoping it's out this fall, but we're not going to rush it. I'm getting final mixes right now, and it's going to be an EP, 6 songs on it. But this is an idea... we were talking with a girl I write with a lot. Her name is Pamela Hopkins, and she's out of Little Rock, Arkansas, and she's doing amazing things. She travels all over, Hawaii, Guam, Alaska. She's doing a lot with her band, and her CD, Giving a Damn Don't Go With My Outfit, which is a song I wrote with her, was very fortunate to write with her. That whole CD has over 1 million streams now on Spotify, and it's doing really well. So we were talking about attention spans. And I wanted to write a train song, but it's a long train and I had a short attention span, right? That was the joke anyway. She was, my band is called Squirrel Train.
Would you say a long train with a small?
Long train, small attention span.
Yeah, I got you.
Right? So she goes, my band is Squirrel Train just for that reason. She's like, squirrel. And then Scott Barrier, who was with us, who I'd love to write with. Scott's just a brilliant guy. We go like, we got to write that. We got to write you a theme song for Squirrel Train, your band. And she said, yes, we do. And the next time we got together, a couple of sessions, and we wrote this, but I kind of took it over. Okay. I've been playing it around in the writers' rounds and people singing back, so I just knew I had to record it. So I beat her to recording it, but she plans on recording it too. Here's my version right here. And Ren and Andy Renfrey, who live around the corner, have great studios, Soundcatcher Studios here in Nashville. They produced this whole thing, and I think they did a tremendous job. Steve Cervencic, Stevie C, who is the lead guitar player for Jeffrey Steele's band, he's doing all the lead guitar and banjo and mandolin. So this is Squirrel Train.
Well, that's your Deconstructed song, Squirrel Train by Dave Lenahan right here.
Was that deconstructed enough?
That was it, buddy.
I'm known in certain circles for my ADD. My friends know I'm distracted so damn easily. I could walk into a room and have no clue why I'm there. I forgot what I was looking for. I just stand and stare. Squirrel train, bad to leave the station. Squirrel train, my mind was on vacation. Squirrel train, completely off the tracks. Sometimes I wonder if it's ever coming back. Squirrel train, squirrel train. Well, I must admit I suffer from that CRS disease. My mind goes right and left and everywhere in between. You gotta know it's guaranteed I'll forget your name. I had it when you said it. It just flitter flied away. Squirrel train, bad to leave the station. Squirrel train, yeah, my mind was on vacation. Squirrel train, completely off the tracks. Sometimes I wonder if it's ever coming back. Squirrel train, you know what I'm talking about. Well, I swear to you that I'm not blonde and my head ain't filled with hair. In fact, it's just the opposite. There's way too much in here. Squirrel train, bad to leave the station. Squirrel train, I think I need some medication. Squirrel train, completely off the tracks. Sometimes I wonder if it's ever coming back. Squirrel train, yeah. And I swear if I had like $1 for every thought I lost just last week, I'd be, hey, squirrel, where's that squirrel? Who got that squirrel? Hey. Squirrel train, squirrel train,
Squirrel Train.
That's
Mr.
right.
Dave Lenahan. I think I first heard that. I think you played that at 12 Keys one night.
I probably did. We played a lot.
The night that me and you and Caitlin played.
Yeah, the night we played.
Yeah, and I tried to get in there on some backup harmonies, but I had a big smile on my face, laughing, enjoying it the whole time, so I wasn't able to get in there. But
Appreciate that. Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody kind of sings back. Train. So, yeah, I love doing that.
what a great song! Well, and you consider that Americana?
I guess it's kind of funny. I think a lot of people have said to me, "Is Americana like stuff that's too country to be on country radio?" Right?
Right.
Kind of is.
Right.
But
Well, and I thought that was folk.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's interesting you say that because Americana does incorporate. I mean, I don't like if you listen to Roots Radio here in Nashville, which by the way you can get on the internet. They stream. You're going to hear folk. You're going to hear John Prine and stuff. A lot of great folk artists, but you're also going to hear blues artists. Mm-hmm. You're going to hear bluegrass. Oh. You're going to hear stuff like that.
So where did the word folk come from? What does that mean?
Oh, you got me.
Hey, folk, y'all come on over here. Come on, folk.
Down home, folky kind of music. Yeah. But to me, that's like story stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And usually it's very stripped down, guitar and not overproduced.
So a country song can be a folk song?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Because my favorite songs are the story songs, the fancy, Chuck Cannon. What a great story.
Chuck Cannon.
My goodness.
Amazing. Love him. Yeah.
Some of the greats are known for, their commercial songs, but they also got those story songs that never make it to the charts, but they're just as good as anything you've ever heard.
I'm telling you. And in this town, you'll hear that. You go to a writer's round, you may watch a hit writer, maybe even not even, with a great story song, and you'll listen and you go, how is that not a hit? Why did somebody record that? Yeah. I don't know. What's the answer? There's just a lot of great music.
You ever get excited sometimes? Like I've gotten so excited about a song I'm hearing live that I'll get up and holler, Woo! And then realize that, oh shoot, they're still in the middle of the song,
Yeah, usually after they deliver that hook the first time, like There's a guy named Nick Gibson. I don't know if you know Nick, but he played at the 12 Keys one night, and we've written a song together now with Pamela Lack. Nick played lead for Lauren Elena for years, and he said, well, no, I want to be my own artist, and so he pulled away, and he's been writing a lot. He gets on stage and he sings this song, and I'll tell you what, this was one of those hooks that just blew me away. And I'm sure I'm going to set this up wrong. He said something I kind of knew the devil, but I've never been to hell, but I've been to her and back was the hook. I've been to her and back. Yeah. It was one of those lousy relationship songs, and it just cut my chest. Nick, yes, and that's me. I'm going, yeah.
So you and I share the same philosophy, or the same belief. We are both all about the song.
About the song. Yeah. Well, NSAI taught me that. And that was their slogan for years, the National Songwriters Association. And we've talked about it on the show a lot, Songwriter Connection show, that it's a good place to start if you have an interest in songwriting. But that's their slogan. It's all about the song.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think this is appropriate for the 70th episode of the National Connection.
I'm glad you joined me.
Talking about the song.
Yeah.
So tell me, how long has the podcast? I know it's 3 seasons, so I guess is a year a season?
No.
Okay.
And I didn't really know what I was doing, Chad. I was bored during COVID. A buddy of mine who I used to work with in radio calls me one day and he goes, hey man, would you be a guest on my podcast? I go, wait a minute, you got a podcast? He goes, yeah. I said, that's something that's always been in the back of my mind. So yeah, I'll do your podcast on one condition. He goes, what's that? I said, you teach me how to do them. So he pointed me in the right direction. Len Igowski, his name is Len Harvey, when he was on the air, and he's got a really cool podcast called Len's Burning Bush, which doesn't have anything to do with music, but it's really cool. So I did the show, and then I started doing my research, and about 5-6 months go by, and I was ready. Purchased some equipment. I wanted it to be great sound, and fortunately, in this dining room where we're recording this right now, we get pretty good sound in here. So I said, you know what, I'm going to do this. And we started, was January of 2021. So, and we did 21 shows first season. Then I took a break and we did 22 more, I think. And then I also did one on, just a brief one talking about me. So I counted that as 42 sessions. And then here we are, 70. Season 3, it started to really take off. We started getting guests like, Jeannie Seeley and John Barry and Kent Blasey, who has been on the show twice, Hall of Fame songwriter, and many others, Chuck Jones. And then I like to sprinkle in some of these young writers and artists that I see around town that I think deserve a little notoriety, like Caitlin Brooker, and I invite them on. So I kind of mix it in,
What's been your favorite segment Is there one particular one that stands out?
Gosh, there's just so many. I tell you, one of my favorite was Troy Ackerman come over one day. Now, Troy has been a writer in this town a long time. And, I'm really all about country history and stuff. On my radio show that I do, Nashville Connection, I always save the last segment for what happened on this day in country history. So Trey was great. He brought over a bottle of Blanton's bourbon, which I never had before, and it's hard to get. And he said, I want you to try this. And I never had it before. And we just sat and talked about country music. And he's a great musician, drummer, guitar. He plays about every instrument. His dad was the drummer on Hee Haw.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he grew up,
around a bunch of greats.
And knew them all. Yeah. He told me stories like sleeping on the floor in the studio as Dad was playing drums on Willie Nelson's track. Willie in his song Me and Paul. He was there as they recorded it. Yeah, chills up the spine. Things like that. So, and we just talked about history and the things that so many cool stories. If you want to look at it, I believe it was season 1. Check out the Troy Ackerman. That's a good podcast.
Yeah, I'll go back and check it out.
Yeah, you'll love it.
I've been told that I got a face for radio.
Me too.
but I say that to say this: you are doing exactly what you should be. You are the perfect person to do you got that voice that just is welcoming, and
thank you.
You just ask the right questions, so I learn a lot from you when
Well, you do a great job too. I love your Deconstructed sessions. I watched the one with Terry Jo Box. That was very interesting, and she's quite the songwriter.
Yeah, she'll bring a tear to your eye.
Man, she's something. She's written for some big hits, and one of my favorites was Ashley McBride, that Great American Scandal.
I love that song.
That's when I first heard that song. That was one of those moments when she first delivers that hook, like Kennedy and Monroe.
Yes.
It was the same thing. It's like, that's songwriting, So
she was also the same woman when the story I was telling a while ago, when I stood up and I jumped up out of my chair when they delivered the hook for the first time, and it was one of her songs that Scott Shawn White, one of her writing partners, had recorded, called "Crazy But True."
Wow.
Man.
Yeah.
When I first heard it, I heard it live, was in Montana at a writer's retreat. And I think it might have been the first night was there. So it wasn't a formal get together. We was just all hanging out and passing the guitar around, And here we are.
I love those
all these big writers, Anthony Smith. So
I love Anthony Smith too.
Yeah.
Oh.
But Terry Jo Box sang this song right. I'm telling you, I want to run around the house a couple times. That was the best song I've ever heard at that moment. It's so good.
You're right. You and I are so much alike. It's about the song, and when you hear a well-written song like that, you can't help but just like jump up and yes. Yeah. You got to let them know.
Yeah. You're exactly right.
Yeah, that's right.
We gonna play some more?
Yeah. How about you play one live?
Sure.
Yeah. And the story behind it, we got to deconstruct the story. This is the crossover event. It's the Deconstructed sessions with Chad Wilson and Dave Lenahan. That's me. And I got to tell you, I never wanted this show to be about me, but since you asked, it's kind of cool to do this. Although I'm kind of embarrassed. I'm always used to asking the questions. So. Well,
I think both of our fans are get a little bit more insight on the of who their host is, because I know you got people that listen to you, on a normal basis, and so the hope is that they'll learn a little bit more about you now, and have a little bit more better history of understanding the questions you ask your guests
and your listeners about you. Mm-hmm. So it is cool. It was a great idea, Chad.
Sure is.
I'm going to credit you with that idea.
Oh, come on now. I think
let me ask you this before you get into the song. Now I'm interviewing you again, right?
Okay.
So, and you know what? Before we do this, I'm going to take a break, because I owe Red Circle a break, and I'll be right back. Don't go away.
Just do it.
You're listening to the Songwriter Connection, connecting with music makers and hearing their songs and stories. Now back to the show with your host, Dave Lenahan.
Got a feeling this is going to be a long one today, but that's all right. Heck, it might take 2 sessions to get through this one if you're listening at home or in the car or whatever. Here's the question I wanted to ask you, Chad. I know you had all that big success with you and your brother, and then you decided you were going to make a solo career. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that. That had to be a hard decision. And was there any animosity, brotherly, sibling rivalry or anything around that? How was that taken?
It was tough. It still is tough. I still, I'm still dealing with repercussions of that.
Are you?
Even on today, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, first and foremost, I love my brother. He's my family. And we always agreed a long time ago that family comes before anything. And so, you know, me leaving the band was something that I had thought and prayed about for a while. And but it was also, you know, the state of the world that, you know, early 2020, we had our last show was March the 15th in Austin, Texas.
Just before the pandemic. Huh?
And we probably had over $500,000 or just short of it worth of gigs the rest of the year canceled, you know, just like everybody else, you know.
Man.
Devastating.
Yeah.
I mean, here we are, finally had momentum, got these songs, finally got a, you know, big song on radio, had the CNT #1.
Yeah.
All this momentum, and then COVID hits. I mean, it's you know, it just took the wind right out of our sails. And of course, the whole industry, music industry, was devastated. But that was sort of the catalyst. The next thing that happened is you know, we had some issues with our agent. I put it this: nothing has ever been easy for my brother and I. Not necessarily our fault or nothing, but we never got anything normal. It's always like,
you worked your tails off. You did.
Yeah. And the biggest thing that happened to us, just right off the bat, you know, here we are with all this momentum, and I'm not going to name any names, but we had an agent, you know, that was at a big booking agent downtown, and he had gotten into some sort of a legal issue that was going to get resolved, but we had to wait a few months before he could work with us until this legal thing got resolved.
Oh boy!
But we had several months of gigs already booked, so it wasn't nothing to wait. You know, we're loyal,
Right.
Well, you know, that come back to bite us. We waited, and when he was finally able to work with us at a different agency, the people above him didn't want us to work with them. So not only did we lose the agency that we left from, now we weren't going to be able to work with the one that we thought we was going to be with.
Man.
So that set us back a whole year.
Yeah.
And I mean, just stuff like that, you know, not necessarily stuff that we asked for, we caused it just. And then when the COVID hit, you know, Kyle had been seeing, you know, his other half for quite a while, I guess, and being from Louisiana, he felt like he needed to move down to Louisiana, and you know, it was tough on me because I was here in Nashville. My girls had, you know, my two daughters.
You have two daughters, that's right.
And their mom also left the month of March 2020 to move to Louisville. My brother left, and then I was working on my record in the studio, and my producer, when COVID hit, left the same month. So I lost my best friend, I lost my brother, and I lost my two girls, my whole family basically, in 1 month. And it devastated me, and you know, I wasn't right in my mind for a little while. I didn't know how to act. Only thing I needed to do was turn to music, and being that my brother was 800 miles away from me, I had to start doing music on my own again. You know, and start writing again, and you know, one opportunity led to another, and you know, we're having to fight for everything we get because of COVID, and there's no gigs. You know, we're doing these. I have to do these house concerts for 10 people at them, you know, and make $150, $200 just to survive and have something to eat. You know, I mean, nothing of it was easy, but it just got to where. You know, we didn't know what the COVID was going to be doing, and didn't know when he was going to come back, and we had a few other issues, but it was just too much, and I just felt like it wasn't worth what we had to go through. We wasn't getting rewarded for what we had to go through to get it. And I just felt like, you know, that since he's down there and I'm up here, I'm gonna. And maybe it was a little selfish, I don't know, but I felt like I just needed to start worrying about myself because nobody else was going to worry about me. And so I made the decision probably in March of 2021, and I made it I played my last gig, I think it was in April of 2021, and I made the announcement a few weeks after that. And you know, everything has worked out good. He's doing great. You know, he's living the life that he loves.
Is he making music?
He's playing music locally down there, you know. I'm sure he travels. I really hate to say, but Gosh, I'm so busy on roads.
You are busy. You're playing everywhere, aren't you?
He's catching fish, so he's doing what he loves, and I think I'm doing what I love, and it's just I got to release my first single in September last year, and now, here we are almost 10 months later, and that song is up for Single of the Year and Video of the Year at the JMAs this year. That's
fantastic. Josie Music Awards, which are going to be at the Grand Ole Opry House this year, right? Yeah. That's cool. What an honor, huh?
It is.
Good luck with that. That's in October, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, middle of October. So awesome. I wish you the best. How about another song?
I think I'm going to play something, a new one. This is one that I wrote with Marty Evans, Party Marty.
Party Marty.
And my buddy Brian, called She Used to Love Me Like That.
All right.
She wore that same red dress first time she kissed me. I know the taste of those lips mixed with whiskey, and the feel of her body pressed against me when we danced. But I'm just a memory. She's getting lost in his eyes the way she used to in mine, and now she ain't looking back. She used to love me like that. He's out there holding her close. I bet he don't even know what all we used to have. She used to love me like that. She used to love me like that. I'm not the kind of guy out looking for attention, but I'd like to think she was just pretending not to notice me staring when she looked my way. But I'm just a memory. She's getting lost in his eyes the way she used to in mine, and now she ain't looking back. She used to love me like that. He's out there holding her close. I bet he don't even know what all we used to have. She used to love me like that. There was a time I stood right where he's standing at. She used to love me like that. She used to love me like that. But I'm just a memory. She's getting lost in his eyes the way she used to in mine, and now she ain't looking back. She used to love me like that. He's out there holding her close. I bet he don't even know what all we used to have. She used to love me like that. She used to love me like that. Oh, she used to love me like that.
Wow. That's some writing, dude. Let me tell you.
Now, would you say it has a little folk, Americana in it?
Well, and I think a lot of that is in production too.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
I think it is what you say, what you say it is. But Chad, I've said on this show, and I've get on the soapbox when I talk about this. I hate genres, and I hate to put anybody into a box and go, "You're a folk singer."
Same way.
You're blues. You're going to adapt, and you're going to grow as an artist, and you may be different things. I mean, look at artists like Dolly, Taylor Swift. I mean, I think these are people that have defined their own genres. They made their own, So I think it's what you want to be.
Yeah, I think the hardest question is when somebody had never known you or never heard you. What kind of music you play?
Yeah, I hate that question.
I do too.
How do you answer it these days?
I just say, the good kind.
That's kind of what I do too. I say, well, hopefully good music, but you'll be the judge of that.
Right. I mean, yeah. But, when I'm asked what genre am I, I don't know. I got so many influences, and you can hear it.
Me too. Yeah. So, who are some of your early influences?
Well, my first, I didn't get my first, other than gospel music, I didn't get my first secular album until I was probably 13 or 14.
Yeah.
Randy Travis was my very first one.
There you go. Wow.
And then it wasn't long after that, though, but I had AC/DC. I had Boys to Men.
Yeah.
I had Mr. Big. I had Garth Brooks,
Garth, yeah.
That very first one he came out with the dance on it, and with gosh, what a great CD. But
it's giant musical soup, and then you kind of grow out of it, huh?
Like Guns N' Roses, one of my favorite songs is September Rain. You can hear a little hint of that in my new song, The Devil. But you can also hear a little bit of gospel influence in it.
You can.
You can hear the soul, R&B influence.
You can. Yes. You can go back and listen to it again, by the way. Turn it back.
And so I don't know. When people ask me what kind of genre I am, I'm just saying, I just do what I do. And that's I guess all I can tell them. And they think hopefully they don't think I'm being
yeah.
But
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But you're right. That is the hardest question that we get. Oh, you're a musician. What kind of music do you play? Try to play good music.
Right.
It's hard. But in that song, the line that just killed me was getting lost in getting lost in her eyes like she used to in mine. Lost, I was like, wow, that's powerful, man.
Yeah.
Great line.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I can't take credit for that.
No.
I have to give Party Marty.
Party Marty.
Marty
that was
Evans.
him, huh?
Yeah, I have to give him credit for that. He came up with that one. But it was a fun ride that day. I love that song. People love that song. And you just never know about a song. We were talking about this before we started recording today. There's songs that I thought were going to be great. I feel them. And nobody seems to care for them. And then the songs that I'm like, oh, man, we wasted that right today. And then that turns out to be the one song that everybody wants to hear. You just never know.
You just never know.
I mean, so I'm sure you've experienced that same thing too, right?
I wish somebody could explain Achy Breaky Heart to me.
What?
You want to go back that far?
Right?
How'd that become such a big hit? But it did.
Milli Vanilli would be mad today.
They would be mad today. With all the auto-tune and all the whole lip-syncing going on, they would be.
They could actually sing today and sound great.
They could. They absolutely could. That's funny. That's true.
Have you spent a lot of time in the recording studio?
No, I haven't. I really haven't. I did make one album Billy Lee produced. And again, I didn't know anything at all. Billy stepped me through it and coached me. And we took a long time. We took our time and put it all together. And that was my first venture. And then other than demos, but I wouldn't sing on my demos. I would hire demo singers. Mm-hmm. So I spent some time in the studio getting demos done. But this whole new experience with this new record was really the first time that I really dug in. And
well, how about this? I worked for several different studios.
Did you?
As a demo singer.
There's
probably a good chance, Dave, that I've probably sang demo on one of your songs.
You maybe did. Yeah. Wow.
I'd go in about at least 2 days a week, sometimes 3 days a week, depending on which studios is ready.
Uh-huh.
And I sometimes sing 5-6 songs a day, And,
wow.
Yeah.
That's good money in that.
Yeah, I did real well.
Yeah.
But I have been before. I've been in a lot of studios. I worked with some great engineers on a lot of projects.
Yeah.
Dark Horse. I've been in Blackbird, Love Shack,
Blackbird. That's
Fame.
Fame Studios even.
Yeah, I've got to work with the best of studios, and
I only got to tour Fame. Oh my goodness! Which is a great tour. If you ever go to Muscle shows, you have to go into the Fame. Yeah, but you recorded there.
My first experience at Fame was the biggest story I probably have in my life. Rick Hall.
Yeah, Rick Hall.
So he passed away in what year? Like early 2000s?
No, I would say it was like 17, 18.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not long ago.
Not too long ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then maybe my story might not have that big of an impact.
But it will. I'm sure it will.
But, when you're in muscle shows and you're talking to people about muscle shows, Rick Hall is he's a giant.
That's right. Florence, Alabama Music Enterprises is what Fame stood for, and it was his studio, and all that great music that came out of there.
He was responsible for all that.
Yeah,
some of the stories of him and Ike Turner.
Ike Turner, yeah.
But so about 2 or 3 years ago, right before the COVID hit, I know that I got a chance to. I was invited down by Philip White and James LeBlanc to come down to muscle shows and write.
Wow.
Because we had just did a function. And, I didn't know, but when I got there, was writing at Fame.
Mm-hmm. wrote at Fame.
At Fame in Rick Hall's office, and nothing has. They didn't move a thing.
Yeah, I've heard they've always kept
the
it the
same,
same,
just like it was.
Unbelievable.
So I guess at the time he had only been passed away about 3 years, but I didn't know that. I was thinking this whole time that he had been gone for a little while. Yeah. So I thought it was something really major. But anyway, we wrote a song that day, and gosh, the song is great. But to write in Rick Hall's office, that was my first experience at Fame, and then to go back here, a year or so later, and record some songs there at Fame, it was an unbelievable experience.
I just can't imagine, because I remember going in there and taking the tour. Rick had passed away. He, by the way, I just Googled it. It was January 2nd of 2018.
Okay,
so he was already gone when we toured. But I remember it was one of those feelings like when I worked at Ryman, walking into Ryman Auditorium, and you feel the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, thinking about all the greatness that occurred in that room. It was the same feeling when I went into Fame. So many great hit records, the sounds that came out of there. The Swampers started there, and an incredible story. So that's cool that you got to experience that.
You know Peter Keys?
I don't.
So Peter Keys is the piano player for Skinner.
Okay.
Peter Keys is playing on The Devil, my new song.
No kidding.
Playing on the piano. That piano was at Fame. The piano on my song was Peter Keys playing that same piano that Alicia Keys played. There's a plaque right above it.
Yeah.
And that piano, that grand piano sitting right there, and I got video of him playing
Oh my goodness.
The Devil. So it was pretty surreal.
That is very surreal. Dang.
Now, don't let me get sidetracked off time, dude. Because
no, I'm not worried about time.
Okay.
Are you worried about time?
I'm not worried about it.
Are you having fun?
I want to talk about your future, our future.
Okay.
Before we get done, so just let me know.
Go for it, man.
Well, you got some big things going on, but you had said you was going to the Frank Brown for the first time ever.
I am. I want to experience it. Now, I wasn't asked to play, but there's open mics down there about every day.
Yeah.
And I've got good friends that play it every year, and I thought, why not? I want to go down and experience it,
Well, I hope that I'm able to see you when you're there.
I hope so, too.
If the dates work out, I'm not sure the dates, but the Frank Brown is, if I'm not mistaken, it's either the longest running or maybe it's the biggest as far as like writers go, because I know they have over 120 songwriters.
It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
It's over a 10-day period. Now, it used to be 10 consecutive days prior to COVID, but now that COVID's hit, I think they split it up into 2 weekends now: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of the back-to-back weekends.
Right. We're going down second week.
Mm-hmm.
But
it is truly a remarkable event. So honored that I get to be a part of it.
Oh man, how long have you been doing it? Yeah?
Probably about 5 years now.
Wow, that's fantastic.
I've been playing I've been playing the Floribama for a little longer than that, but the Frank Brown for about 5 years.
Floribama is the coolest place. Talk about that just for a second. It's pretty cool, isn't it?
It is. It's a one of a kind thing. There's nothing else like it anywhere in the world, and it's listed as one of the top 10 beach bars in the world.
In the world, yeah.
But there's nothing like it. There's 5 stages. They book over 1,600 musical acts a year.
Can you imagine?
1,600. Gosh,
that's crazy.
That is crazy.
It is.
But I just.
And isn't it part of it in Alabama and part of it's in Florida? That's why it's Floribama, right?
It sure is.
Yeah. It's so like you can be playing in Florida, take a few steps, and you're playing in.
Well, there's a joke. If you get in trouble and you come out the door and the cop's chasing you, if you just take a hard left, you'll be in Alabama. They can't mess with you. Or if they're Alabama cops, you take a right and you just get there and wave back at them. They can't touch you,
That's funny.
Now, I've never experienced it.
No, of course not. Not you. Christian boy like, no, there's no way.
But, the Floribama, not only is it one of a kind, but it's a family.
Yeah.
Davis Nix was the talent buy there for so long. He just stepped out of that role, but, people that replaced him are just, we're friends too. Kurt, all the sound guys, the bar staff. We play there so much that they become family. But they're also responsible for keeping some of us musicians during COVID with something to eat and a little bit of money in our pocket.
They take care of you, huh?
They had so many people, even A-list artists was calling the Floribama during the COVID saying, hey, can we come down and play an acoustic show?
Wow.
But, they've always done a good job of taking care of the local family people. And it's just a great spot. It's hard to explain.
I cannot wait.
But every night it's a great time. That each stage is different. Personally, my favorite stage is the main stage. That's the writer stage. That's the indoor stage where people are more, prone to sit and listen to your song. And then you get the dome stage, which is 2 levels.
2 levels, wow.
And usually that's full bands, cover bands, and that's a big party. That's where they got the bras hanging on the, that's where everybody gets a little crazy.
Really crazy, huh?
Then you got the beach bar, and you got the tent stage, and it's just a great time. But the Frank Brown, it's held there. It's the headquarters, but now the Frank Brown's so big, it extends. I don't tell you how many miles from one end to the other of businesses that Frank Brown. But,
it's the Frank Brown Music Festival there in Gulf Shores, and you should Google it and read about it. It really is in fact, I was told by Mark Allen Barnett, who's been playing there for years. He said if you could go to any one songwriter festival, that should be the one. That's what he would tell me.
There's a documentary about it.
Is there? Now I haven't seen this.
It's called Stories and Rhymes.
Oh, I'm writing this down. Stories and Rhymes.
Stories and Rhymes. A complete history of the Frank Brown Songwriters Festival, and Joe Gilchrist, who started it, just passed away just a few months ago.
Yes, I heard about that. So sad.
So we're going to have another benefit for him here, and we're going to have a big tribute to him at the Frank Brown this year. But here's a good story for you about. I think the Frank Brown's in his 42nd year, maybe 40.
Wow,
30.
Wow,
it's up there.
Wow,
I might be off a few years, but a film crew come in the third or fourth maybe year that Frank Brown was going, and Sonny Throckmorton and Bo Roberts and all these guys were the writers there. And this documentary goes into it, but they started filming a documentary about it 30-something years ago.
Wow.
Well, they ran out of money, and all that footage that they got for that year or two got put up, and a fella, his name just escaped me. I'm sorry.
It happens.
But he was
Squirrel Train.
Yeah, right. But he was able to get access to all that footage about 4 years ago now. And they come up with this new thing where they went back 3 years ago and documented that Frank Brown, the one right before the COVID hit.
Oh,
so it was the last full, and they took that footage and the new footage, and they put it together. Me and my brother was fortunate to be a part of it. We're in that documentary.
Definitely got to see it now.
Yeah. Eric Erdman, he's in it.
Wow.
But it's a great, great story about Joe and how the Frank Brown started, and it shows you. I mean, it's a complete history of what the Frank Brown is and what it means, and it was really cool. And it's at the Fraud Brahma, so you get to see all that too. 2nd
and 3rd week of November, folks. Google it. Find out more. That's a cool story. Very cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Yep.
Pretty neat. I did my first. We used to have a songwriter festival in Cincinnati. It was called Taste of Claremont, I want to say, and we used to bring a lot of Nashville songwriters up, and it was really a cool event. We did like 3 years or so. But I did my first festival since then, just a couple of weeks back. At Gatlinburg, the Gatlinburg Songwriter Fest.
I saw your pictures. That had to be awesome.
Which used to be called the Smoky Mountain Fest. And it was the first time they've done it since COVID and since the passing of the founder. And so it was my first time, and it was so much fun that I don't ever plan to ever miss it again. So if you go to my Facebook page, you can see some of the pictures. I did some photo dumps, and so yeah, it's fun.
So you're at a beautiful location.
Beautiful location.
You're around beautiful people that play and write music. Just like so.
And after
did you want?
After the shows, everybody would gather. There's a big front porch of the Gatlinburg Inn, and people would just start bringing their instruments. You'd have like Will Nance, who's going to be on this show eventually, playing fiddle. And Robin Ruddy, who we talked about, bringing her dobro. We had a stand-up bass player, and we had about 14 million guitars, and we're just playing every song we can think of. Hank, Merle, gospel, singing Southern gospel, and it just, you know what? Those jams would go on like 2:30 in the morning. It was crazy. It was so much fun.
Yeah,
it was so much fun.
Yeah. For an old man like me, that's So I can't deal but maybe one of those 2:30 in the morning. It could take me 3 days to recover.
And the night I didn't was Saturday, and that was the night Larry Gatlin's band showed up, and they played until about 2:30, jamming on the porch.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
Well, yeah, these writers' festivals there seem like there's a lot more now than what they used to be. But man, they're also fun. I'm happy to see people taking appreciation for that.
Yeah. for the song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because so many times, obviously it's well known that the songwriter don't get any recognition for any hits, but this gives people a chance. And somebody once said, when you hear a songwriter sing a hit song that somebody else made a hit song, it's almost like you're listening to that song for the first time again.
It is. And I've often said on this show, and we'll say it again, that's my favorite thing about Nashville Writers Rounds, about doing this show, getting to see the songwriter do their own interpretation of that song. To me, that's just so special. I'll take that over the recorded version every time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
my favorite person to do that is Dean Dillon.
Oh.
To hear him on that stage telling stories about all his number one hits that George Strait and everybody else had, it's
Tennessee
unbelievable.
Whiskey,
Yeah.
There's a great movie on him, too, right now. That's streaming that you,
Sure
you
is.
need to watch. In fact, I think it's called The Dean Dillon Story, Tennessee Whiskey, The Dean Dillon Story.
Yeah.
I think it's called. It's
I've
great.
seen it. Yeah, I've seen it.
Isn't it fantastic?
So good.
Yeah, it really
But
is.
he does a Frank Brown every year.
Does he? Oh, good. Hopefully I get to see him.
Yep. The tickets sell out fast. It's a ticketed event, but there's a few ticketed events during the Frank Brown. That's one of them.
That's one of them? Yeah.
So,
Dude is in the Country Music Hall of Fame.
I'm telling you, he's the best. He is the best.
All those big George Strait songs. Yeah. Pretty cool. Wow.
Why don't you play us another song?
Yeah, sure. At that Songwriter Fest, this is funny. This this is an interesting story. The story of this song. When I lived in Cincinnati, we were driving back and forth a lot. I'd come down and write, and then we would drive back. And I always said that when we go through Louisville one day, I want to stop at the Louisville Slugger Museum because I'm a huge baseball fan. So like when I was a kid, before I got my first guitar, I was going to be a professional baseball player, right?
Okay.
And but of course that didn't happen. But anyway. So we visited Louisville Slugger Museum, and I had such a wonderful time watching them make the bats on the lathe. They can make a bat in like 30 seconds. And then they had bats, and you can get pictures taken. I had a picture taken holding Mickey Mantle's bat. I was like, yeah. So it was so much fun. And we came back to Cincinnati, and we used to do these guitar polls and stuff. Really good, serious group of songwriters in the Nashville Songwriter Association chapter in Cincinnati and Dayton. And we'd meet at my buddy Greg's house, and we just swap songs. And so I was talking that night, I said, we just got back from Louisville Slugger Museum. We had such a great time. I want to write a story about a bat, a boy and his bat.
Okay.
And we wrote this song from the point of view of the bat. And, we got it critiqued, and we did a demo on it. And I remember a publisher going, "What's a lathe?"
Yeah.
That's how they make the bat. It's a tool. Yeah. And so would that stop you from not getting the song? Anyway, sometimes I think they just look for excuses, right? So there was 4 of us on this song when we started writing. It was Tim Skeen, Greg Althammer, my brother from another mother, myself, and a guy named Al Thekos. And so we wrote that first version of the song. And then Tim and I got together and we rewrote it to be more of like a story of a boy and his bat. And so I call it my baseball song.
Okay.
So when I was, can you hear? Can you hear that?
Yeah.
So we were at the Gallenberg Songwriter Festival. The first night that you're there, they put you into a room with a hit writer, and you do like a guitar pull, right? And in my room was Danny Wells, who's going to be on this show, who's had a lot of big hits, Rascal Flatts and stuff. And he wrote Check Yes or No for George Strait. And also was Brian White, who's had a lot of big hits, and his lovely wife, Karen. And so it turned out we only had time for one song, because then Brian played a song and Karen played, which was great. It was good to hear their stuff. And finally, it comes down to me, here, Dave. And I go, what do I play? And I go, well, I'm going to play my baseball song, because one of them had a baseball hat cap on, and I can't remember who they were. So I played this, and then it was a full room, and everywhere I went at the festival, I had to play that song.
Oh, nice.
So
Okay.
it was a lot of validation for this song. So I decided to cut it on my new record, and it's going to be out. And this is called Louisville Slugger. Well, it's hanging down at Miller's Sporting Goods. 30 inches of solid wood. They turned down on a lathe. There's that word. It was signed by Willie Mays. It was like no other. and it found its way to me. Underneath my Christmas tree, I was 8 years old, and I begged Santa Claus and my mother. I had a dream and it seemed so real. Bottom of the ninth at Wrigley Field, staring down a 3 and 2 count, bases loaded. Well, I knock it out with my Louisville Slugger. And I took it everywhere I went. Some nights even slept with it. My daddy used to laugh. His sword was attached to my shoulder. He used to let me stay up late, and me and him would watch that game like buddies sitting in the stands. Oh, and in my hands was that Louisville Slugger. I had this dream and it seemed so real. Bottom of the ninth at Wrigley Field, staring down a 3 and 2 count, bases loaded, and I knock it out with my Louisville Slugger. Well, the big leagues they never called. Now hangs my son's falling on the end of it. That's my old Ma Rawlings mitt. Yeah, sometimes I wonder, but the dream still seems real. It's the bottom of the ninth at Wrigley Field, and he's staring down a 3 and 2 count, bases loaded, and I watch him knock it out with my Louisville Slugger. It's hanging down in Miller's Sporting Goods. 30 inches of solid wood they turned down on a lathe. Then they burned in the name, Louisville Slugger.
Goodness gracious. Well, no wonder everybody wanted you to play that song everywhere that you went. I mean, that takes you back. I could smell it. I could smell the smell of a baseball game. I mean, gosh, you're right there with it. That's so good.
Means a lot coming from you. Thank you. Yeah. Appreciate that. You know, it's so funny. We were doing the first work tape on that. I have to tell you this story. First work tape we did was at my house, and Tim Skeen, who one of the co-writers, was doing the work tape. And at the very end, when he got done, Louisville Slugger, he goes, or something like that. And we started laughing. And from there on in, every work tape I've ever done ends with, or something like that. And a lot of my co-writers know that. And they're starting to do the same thing, or something like that. So when Renfrey, the producer of my new record, says, what do you want to call this record? I said, or something like that. So that's the name of my new CD, out this fall sometime.
That's a perfect way to deconstruct that song there. No, it was really good. You know, I'm also excited about one. I'm not going to say the name of it, but the one that you was playing earlier, you and Miss Andrea Goodman, a mutual friend of ours. Y'all got a good one going. I can't wait for y'all to finish that, or whatever y'all doing with it. It's going to be a great song.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, love her. She's great.
What do you got? What you got coming up as far as like your rights? Yeah, I know you got a big show tonight. Now, by the time this airs, of course, we'll be past this night.
Yeah, we'll be past. But I like to play a lot of the writers' rounds, and I keep pretty busy on that. I love the Cambria and Randy's Revival over there, and I love Debbie Champion Writers' Nights at the Commodore, and the weekend version with Jimmy and Annalisa. They do a wonderful job. Maxwell House is open again. Millennium Maxwell House, Lee Riscone, who's been, again, in this town, discovered so much great talent. There's a guy that's hosted writers' rounds in here forever. And
You look bad, man.
Yeah, you look bad. You know you're doing well when you do a song and he picks up the mic and goes, man, you look bad.
Yeah.
You look bad, bro. It's his way of telling you, good job. You know, I say, get a haircut. Will you get a haircut?
Yeah, that's right.
So I like that.
That's his phrase.
Yeah. And this past year I got to play the Bluebird for the first time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And, well, I'd say the first time. It actually was the fourth time. But the first time with my friend Billy Lee in the round. And now they tell me they're going to let me put together a round, which I might be like whenever. You know, there's a long list, and I said, I don't care. I don't care if it's 2025. I'm on the list. Yay! You know? But I did get to play for the first time at the Listening Room, which is, and you've played there a lot, right? The listen.
No, actually, I have not.
No?
I've just recently played it for my first time, but I've played it a couple times since. Like I say, just this year I played it.
Yeah, a lot of times when you come to town, the Bluebird sells out so fast because it's small. But, you know, and I always tell folks, well, if you can't get into the Bluebird, try to get into the Listening Room because you're going to find great writers there.
Oh, man.
You never know.
I've never had a bad experience at the Listening
Me
Room.
neither. Yeah.
Whether as an audience member or on stage, it's always been amazing.
I love playing there. I really do.
The last round I was there, I was with Josiah Siska.
Yeah, I just saw his new song. He's his new video. I was watching that today. To Tequila Floor.
Yeah. I was with another young artist named Lexi Lou, who's awesome. You know, for the people listening to my show, that writes with me, I want to introduce all my folks to you because I know that. You do so good for everybody, and some of my colleagues that I write with. You know, I think they do really well for you. So I want to make a point to do that.
Well, hook me up. We'll get them on the podcast.
Sure will.
And thank you for allowing me to be on your podcast. I love what you do too, man. I'll tell you, not only are you just a great writer, but you're an amazing performer. Your podcast is great. You're just an all-around wonderful guy, man. So good to know you and get to meet you.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah.
That comes from my mama.
Yeah, your mama.
Yeah.
In a good way when I say yo mama. Nothing bad intended.
Well,
so,
for our first crossover show, maybe we'll get to this again in the future.
I think this is a cool idea.
I think it's been great.
How was your idea? I give you credit for that.
Well,
it's been a lot of fun.
It has been a lot of fun. It has been a lot of fun.
I've never, like I said, never wanted this to ever be about me, but it was kind of cool being interviewed. It doesn't happen very often, and I appreciate you. I really do.
Songs is great, so I appreciate you.
So
on the show.
We want to call it a wrap?
Well, we could always come back and do another episode later.
Let's do it.
And we'll see where we are at that point. See how some of our songs have turned out.
That would be a cool show.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Chad Wilson, my guest.
And Dave Lenahan's my guest.
Thank you for joining us on Songwriter Connection.
The Deconstructed Sessions.
That's right.
Thank you for listening to the Songwriter Connection podcast. Find us on social media at Songwriter Connection. Also, listen to Dave Lenahan's Nashville Connections radio show. It streams live every Friday morning on WOBL and WNOI. Look for us on Facebook and YouTube. See you next time on Songwriter Connection.